So we're going to move into some math of pre-calc, and we can talk about pre-calculus maybe tomorrow. But I wanted to do an overview on conic sections because you hear a lot about that, and everything essentially comes down to a conic section unless it's a wave, which again exposes the natural toroidal field, which we will talk about later. So let's look at the conic sections. So usually conic sections only show you four. They show you the parabola, the ellipse, the circle, and the hyperbola. But I wanted to show actually the conic section does every form, point, line, and cross lines. And then also, of course, a plane could be conceived if it was just skewed out of one side and not two in an infinite space. And when you look at the equations, we're going to look over these in mass, but so just take a second for yourself. I'm going to minimize my, now I'm super tiny. To see the difference, they're all connected. Let's just go back to the line for a second. So these are the three forms of the line, right? The top one is standard form. This is the one that kids learn, slope intercept right away. Standard is written. They did lowercase. I should have gotten something else. Q math, bad on you. But this is the one I want to look at, is point slope form, because actually the definition of a line comes out of slope, which we're not going to talk about right now. But you could say, instead of y minus y1, you could say y minus k equals mx minus h. Okay? Because watch what happens. Do you see HK? Okay, here's a parabola, HK. See how Y is connected with K and X is connected with H all over. That's because H and K are synonymous with the vertex, okay? Or the center, okay? The hyperbola and the ellipse are a little bit different, but they also have where you can figure out how it shifts. So for a line, you're talking about X and Y intercepts, intercepts. For a parabola, you're looking for the vertex. For a circle, you're looking for the center. And for hyperbola and ellipses, you're looking for the foci. But they all come from those same equations. Let's look at the equations again. So if you look at a circle, just do yourself a favor and analyze these together. I don't know about you, but I've always taught them together, because I didn't learn them together. And then when I saw it, right? So a circle is perfectly symmetrical, right? So you'll notice there's no division. Versus an ellipse is elongated and there is division with a plus sign, okay? That's what keeps it in the form, right? Now, hyperbolic is division, you see it down there, with a subtraction, right? It's a minus sign, subtraction. Are you seeing it there, right? And a parabola so circle, hyperbola, ellipses are all both squared, but parabola is only x being squared. If you're picking this up, or if you're in pre-calc right now and you're like, what is she talking about? Or you're like, oh, I see it now. Just know, okay, the squared nature of one part bends it. So first of all, you've got a line, right? If it's squared, you're going to bend it. That becomes a parabola. If you square it twice, okay, it's going to turn it into an ellipse or a perfect circle. That's just the nature of what the mechanism does. It's literally engineering in the equation. That's what's happening. The square makes the form want to bend back onto itself. Okay? Now the reason the hyperbola is a subtraction squared is, think of an ellipse. Okay, let's look at the picture again. So an ellipse is formed as a diagonal in the conic. Okay? Conic is for cone conic. I'm really trying my best to not say Harry Connick Jr. Oh, I just did it. Okay, well, moving on. But so think of an ellipse, right? Which a lot of people wrongfully call an oval, okay? The world would be a lot better, a lot easier if people called things the ellipse. Thank you, Washington, D.C., in front of the president's house, right? 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The lawn in front of it is called the ellipse. Ellipses. Because it's the shape of an ellipse, okay? It's not an oval. The Oval Office is an ellipse. There's a reason for that. Pierre L'Enfant. Okay. But so an ellipse, it's the summation. It's the y minus k squared over a squared plus x minus h squared over b squared, right? So the plus makes it loop back on itself. The subtraction essentially cuts the ellipse in half, and the tension springs the opposite way and creates an hyperbola. So again, an ellipse is a diagonal, right? But a hyperbola is two parabolas in the opposite direction. But I'm telling you the mechanics of the engineering of why that works. That's why it happens. That's why it happens. There's the parabola. Okay? Do you see it? So we are likely going to be going into some pre-calculus, and we're going to talk about the form and the shape and the equation, okay? But please know, this is like a video game, okay? It is all programming. Mathematics is a language. It's the language of everything. It's essentially binary code. If you can program a phone, if you can understand the forms, you will get it. It's just shifting, okay? Let's pretend my hand is a program or is a form, okay? The moment I do this, the equation shifts in a very specific direction. In this case, it's y because it's vertical, right? If I do this, it's going to be in a very specific direction. It's x because it's horizontal. If I do this, it's going to be both x and y. If I do this, right, it's like a plugged-in video game. Look. That's all of math. Now you understand all of it. And we call it preliminary calculus because it's bridging the algebraic ideas into the idea of infinite motion, which is the calculus that Leibniz and Newton were fighting over who got there first. Newton got a lot more credit than Leibniz did, but I'm really kind of team Leibniz over here, all right? I think Newton was honestly kind of propped up. He was a little bit of a nepo baby. But I didn't say that. I didn't say it. So, at any rate, please know that to be true. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to learn about pre-calc. And this is a long thing because TikTok lets me do the green screen easier, but I'm going to do most of my lessons on YouTubes. So if you want some preliminary calculus, that's what we're going to do for now. I realize that there is a growing demand for people to understand pre-calc, which is awesome because there aren't as many resources online, and I love me some pre-calc trig. It's great. It's a circle. Everything is a circle. It's a circle in time. Do yourself a huge favor and get a clock, like an old school clock. Okay. See ya on the flip side. Miss Thompson out. Boo.